everyone. Again, good morning. If everyone could please begin to take their seats, the Junior ROTC of Maplewood High School will begin their procession with our dignitaries of today. Everyone, again, please be seated. If everyone at this time could please stand and join us together as we say the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You all may be seated now. Thank you so much. And again, good Monday morning to you all. Thank you all so much for getting up early this morning, bracing the cold for a most special day. And some of you all may recall these words. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, they were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Well, it is obvious today, America has defaulted on its promissory note, but we refuse, everybody say with me, we refuse, but we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. Again, good morning, welcome. We have an amazing program for this MLK Day Convocation. And at this time, I want to invite up the W. Krim Singers for Lift Every Voice and Sing. Absolutely beautiful and powerful. Thank you so much to the W. Crim performers. And next, if you're not crying already, I was getting a little emotional. I don't know about you, but that was absolutely amazing. Next, I want to invite to the stage Reverend Kelly X, Director of Racial Justice Ministries at Scarrett Bennett Center.
Let us look to God in prayer. Oh, most gracious God, we come to you in this moment, thanking you for the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., a scholar, an activist, and a prophet, one who lived his life as he preached and as he taught. And in addition to being one who stood in front and took the hurt and the harm of this nation, he was also a husband, a father, a brother, a son, and a friend. And so, God, we come to you on this morning, thanking you for this drum major of justice. And we are asking that you would allow his life that was taken way too soon to be inspiration for the lives that we live, that we might go out and champion that which he did, that we will grow in our understanding of justice just as he grew from civil rights to human rights. Let us expand that which we do, oh God. Let us champion the fight against the triple evils of poverty, racism, and militarism, and include in that the stopping of hate of all kinds, that we might stop homophobia and transphobia, that we will stand with our sisters, expanding the rights so that all people are seen as human beings. God, let us be obedient to the path that has been laid before us. Allow this time together not just to be a small celebration, but be inspiration. Let it be a fire burning in our spirits, that as we leave this place, we will be full of a fight, that we might spread your love, your peace, your justice in this world, and that those who know us will know you. So, God, we thank you for all that you are, all that you continue to be. We know that this will be an amazing time, but let us not just celebrate. Let us also get to work. Let us also remember that there are those who are in need of drum majors for justice, not just those who want the shine, but that we will put in the grind for you, oh God. So touch, so feel, so hold us, and be with all that are to come forward, and allow their words and their actions to be anointed for justice. For we love and praise you and magnify your holy and matchless name. And we do this in the name that is matchless beyond. We do it in the name of love, peace, and justice. Amen.
Don't just shine, but grind. Thank you so much, Reverend Kelly X. You know, they say it takes a village, it takes a group, it takes an accompaniment of people. But in the midst of that, there's always a captain and a general. And at this time, I want to acknowledge the magnificent work of the MLK Day Committee. They're spread about through the crowd. Just give us a wave. Thank you so much for your work. All right, we see you. And please, while you're clapping, help me welcome to the stage the general of today, the Honorable Cheryl Mays, who is also District 6 Board of Education Representative. Cheryl Mays.
Good morning, everybody. And thank you, Harriet, for that lovely introduction. It is indeed my honor to welcome you to the Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship 35th Annual Celebration of Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. This is our first in-person convocation since 2019, and we are very excited to be back in person to welcome you all. Our planning committee has worked very hard over the last 8 months to bring you several amazing programs that included our intergenerational panel, a fair housing discussion, the youth symposium, the Women of Faith panel, and today's youth rally leading up to today's convocation. This year's theme, Protecting the Dream, Confronting the Assaults, says so much about where we are in the world right now. As we move through our program today, I challenge each of you to ask yourselves, what this theme means to you. How will you continue to protect Dr. King's dream? What are the assaults that you believe need to be confronted and/or called out? I believe Dr. Dyson will bring a message today that will help us all walk down that path of understanding. And before I take my seat, I would like to thank our program sponsors for their continued support of the Nashville MLK Day celebrations. Our platinum sponsors, HCA Healthcare and Amazon. Our silver sponsors, Tennessee Titans Organization, Alliance Bernstein, and Kroger. Our bronze sponsors, AARP of Tennessee and Tractor Supply. And our community action sponsors, Mojo Marketing and PR, 92Q, a division of Cumulus Broadcasting, the Parking Company Worldwide, Parnassus Books of Nashville, and NashCom Communications. Please be sure to stop by and visit with our table sponsors that are set up in the back as well. I would also like to welcome and thank our special guest today, Dr. Glenda Glover, President of Tennessee State University, the Tennessee State University. Our newest elected official, Senator Charlene Oliver. Our old head, Representative Harold Love, Jr. And I know he's here someplace, another new elected official, Representative Justin Jones. And of course, our mayor, John Cooper. And I thank you to all of our elected officials that have joined us here this morning. Thank you to all of our Metro Council members that have joined us this morning. And my colleagues on the school board, thank you for joining us this morning as well. But finally, please join me in thanking a phenomenal group of people who have spent the last 8 months, and you heard that right, 8 months planning and executing our programs. If you are a member of the 2023 MLK Day Planning Committee, please stand and be recognized. Don't be shy, come on. I can tell you that these individuals have put in a lot of hard work and they deserve every single recognition. One final thought, one final announcement is Metro 3 will be airing this program on its channel, so make sure that you check out Metro Government 3 to catch a rebroadcast of today's program. So again, I thank you all for being here. It is my honor to serve as the chair of this committee, and we are going to be, we've already started talking about next year's program. It will be the 70th anniversary for IMF, so we're going to be celebrating in a big way. I hope you will all continue to join us. Thank you so much and enjoy the program.
As the W. Crim singers begin to make their way back for another performance, I want to invite up the co-chair of the MLK Day Youth Committee, Jacob Aparicio. He's got a fan club. All right. And you will hear the musical performance from the W. Crim singers immediately following Jacob.
Good morning, everyone. Hey. You can see I got some of my young people here. Love to see y'all. My name is Jacob Aparicio, and I'm co-chair of the MLK Day Youth Committee. First off, I got to thank you all for joining us this morning. It's been 3 years since we've had an in-person convocation. So I love looking up and seeing all your faces here today as we honor and celebrate the legacy of Dr. King. Now, as co-chair of the Youth Committee, it's been my pleasure to work with a talented group of young people over the past 5 months to deliver our MLK Day youth events, such as the Youth Symposium this past Saturday and the Youth Rally this morning. And time again, it's been my experience that youth have proven when given the space and a little bit of support, they can step up as educators, artists, organizers, and leaders of our community. Now, given our history in Nashville, that's no surprise. The likes of James Lawson, John Lewis, Diane Nash, and countless other youth organizers, young people have always been a catalyst to create change. Now, when we think about today's theme, protecting the dream and confronting the assaults, ask yourself, what are these assaults? Well, trust, and all the times I work with my young people, I hear about it all the time. Assaults on our history, banning of books and curriculum that promote a so-called divisive concepts that they refer to as critical race theory. Erasing people of color's lived history and realities of oppression. Assaults on their identity, not allowing people to express their sexual orientation, their gender identity and gender expression fully without repercussions or fear of being ostracized. Assaults on access to education, and the harsh reality for the undocumented members of our community that although they're not born in this country, they've become invested members of our community, but they're denied realistic opportunities of pursuing post-secondary education. Assaults on their very own homes. And although we live in a so-called it city, everybody wants a part of Nashville. We've welcomed outsiders and developers who care more for profit than community. We've been displacing our neighborhoods with deep historical roots, people of diverse backgrounds and a rich culture. Assaults such as the school-to-prison pipeline, police brutality, voting rights, access to affordable health care. I hear about this all the time, and they ask me, how do we confront the assaults? Well, there is no one answer, and trust, I don't have that answer. But one thing I do know, the answer is within ourselves, within our community. Collective action. We all have the capacity. And as adults, we have a say. We have some power. We have some influence on the decisions that impact our lives. But think about those who will inherit the world after us. We must find ways to invest in the education of our young people, include them, and provide platforms so they have a say in the decisions that impact their lives, and provide opportunities that uplift their voices and empower them. So as we have our speakers here today, I hope you take inspiration from their words. And above all, you continue to pursue the world that Dr. King dreamed of. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. We again are the W. Crim Singers, AKA Wakanda Chorale. And it is indeed a great privilege and pleasure for us to stand before you all to render these selections. You first, of course, heard Lift Every Voice to Sing, the Negro National Anthem, arranged by Roland Carter. And now you will hear Precious Lord, arranged by Colin Lett, son of Selma, Alabama, who arranged this, and we commissioned this particular arrangement for the 54th annual commemoration of Dr. King's assassination at the National Civil Rights Museum, and was premiered this past April in Memphis, Tennessee. And so this selection will be led by Mr. Emmanuel Brunson, a graduate student in conducting at Belmont University, graduate of Alabama State University. We are accompanied today by Mr. Horacio Glendelane, and I, of course, will be your soloist. God bless you.
Precious Lord, take my hand, lead me on, let me stand. I am tired. darkness, how peace and the night draws near. Hold my hand, take my hand, precious Lord. Take my hand, guide my feet, lead me home. Precious Lord, precious Lord, I need you. I need you to take and guide. Some says lead me and guide. Along the way.
Look, I was asked to try and get a little quiet before our next speakers come up, but when the Spirit moves, I'm not in control. But I do ask at this time that as you, because I was back there getting the Spirit myself, that was an amazing, they're amazing. They're amazing. One thing that we know is that HBCUs are one of the jewels in the crown of African American culture. And they are the answer to attempted limitations to power, ability, and force. They are the answer. And then there are custodians of these jewels, and it is not an easy lift. And at this time, I want to welcome a few folks to the stage. Dr. Glenda Glover, president of, the Tennessee State University, who will be followed by Senator Charlene Oliver, Representative Reverend Dr., because we're getting all the titles in there today, Harold Love Jr., and Nashville's Mayor John Cooper. But first, Dr. Glenda Glover.
Good morning to the IMF organization, to the board, the president, and all the members, to this Martin Luther King Day Committee, to the students, the faculty, the staff, all at Tennessee State University. I want to take a moment to the Honorable Mayor, to the Honorable Speaker, world-renowned speaker. And I want you to take a moment and just ask all the students to stand. I see our student leader, freshman class president. Would you all stand? If you're a student anywhere at any university or any K through 12, if you're a student anywhere, would you stand? So we can give you a round of applause. Thank you very much. You are our future, you are our present, and we are pleased you're here. But it is a rich privilege for me to join today as we honor such a consecrated day in our lives. I greet you in the name of service. Service, what this day is all about. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, everybody can be great because anybody can serve. We also greet you in the name of prayer. If ever there was a time that we needed prayer, that time is now. So we're thankful for this prayerful gathering. We're thankful for this gathering of service. So I challenge us today to prayerfully serve, just as Dr. King served so well. Serve each other, serve God. Somebody wrote the hymn that said, to serve this present age, my calling to fulfill. Serve. 1 Peter says, as every man has received a gift, even so use it to serve one another. Matthew says, even as the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve. That's the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. model. Because of Dr. King, we are a better America, a better people, a better world. We honor Dr. King and those leaders that he inspired to continue this struggle for equality, for voting rights, for educational equality, for basic human decency. Yes, we are here today because we know that it's not enough to get better, we must get well. So as we pray, celebrate, and commemorate, we bow our heads and our hearts. Let's recommit ourselves to the struggle for what's right. Let's collaborate and honor the dream. We honor the dream by serving others, by loving others, by working together, by collaborating. So let's keep working. Let's band together, stand together, stay together, pray together, knowing that God has designed our destiny, and through him we'll be all that he's designed for us to be. Morning.
Good morning, and welcome to the 35th annual celebration of the life and legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Greetings to Tennessee State President Glover, our students, faculty, staff, elected officials, IMF, and distinguished guests. To Dr. Michael Eric Dyson, our keynote speaker, thank you for being here with us today and for sharing your wisdom and experience with us. And to School Board Member Cheryl Mays and the organizer of today's events and this week's events, I applaud you for putting on a great event. My name is Charlene Oliver, and I bring you greetings as your newly elected state senator for the mighty District 19. That's right. Thank you. Buckle up. In thinking about what I would say for my welcome remarks today, I'm reminded of this year's theme, protecting the dream, confronting the assaults, and what this means for the times we're living in today. Tennessee is under a Republican supermajority rule, and our people are worse off than ever before. Tennessee Republicans, let me repeat that, have waged war on the poor and working class and have gone full-on DEFCON 3 on people of color in an effort to preserve their beloved religion of white supremacy. Their assault is on anyone who isn't a wealthy, white, Christian, heterosexual man. And their weapon of choice is what the Reverend William Barber stood on this very stage and called policy violence. Marginalized and working class folks in Tennessee are under attack, and with assaults on our voting rights, civil rights, women's reproductive rights, immigrant rights, healthcare rights, human rights, public education, climate rights, and science. I'm not done. There's an assault on our right to housing, our right to marry who we love, our right to protest, our right to fair and livable wages, our right to go to the grocery store and not get shot by an AR-15, and our birthright to exist. In Dr. King's 1963 letter from a Birmingham jail, he warned us about the white moderate who was more devoted to law and order than justice. Well, I'm here today to also warn you about the black moderates who stand on alert at the gates with their imaginary rules that maintain the status quo and uphold white supremacy. We, as a collective people, have become too complacent, apathetic, and distracted with the ways of the world instead of protecting the dream. Over the course of my career as a community organizer and public servant, I have become increasingly disturbed by the black moderates' response, particularly here in Nashville, to injustices and their lack of urgency to take appropriate action. It's why I founded the Equity Alliance. You see, protecting the dream calls for defending it with radical, unapologetic leadership and bold direct action. But we can't protect the dream by continuously allowing corporations like Advance Financial and Core Civic to be presenting sponsors at our banquets and balls and galas, because all money ain't good money. We won't get to the promised land being more devoted to doing things in decency and in order for the sake of respectability politics than doing what's necessary to secure our rights and freedoms. We can't protect the dream by telling young people to wait their turn while sitting idly by as they get massacred with AR-15s in schools. We won't protect the dream by letting celebrities like Kanye and Kyrie and Tory Lanez trend on Black Twitter, but refuse to set trends with our voted turnout numbers. We can't protect the dream by being more interested in performing on the ground for likes and followers than protesting in the streets about police brutality. We can't protect the dream by mimicking the tactics of our oppressors, by spreading misinformation that manipulates our minds. Can I get an amen? I'm almost done. I do believe we can protect Dr. King's dream if we continue to work against the white moderates, black gatekeepers, and white supremacists who stand in the way of progress and justice. Protecting the dream means confronting the policy assaults head on by voting in every local and state election, organizing at the grassroots, demanding reparations, fair wages, healthcare access, clean air and water, and adequate housing. We must confront society's deeply rooted structural problems, not with punishment like our state legislature likes to do, but with compassion and imagination for new solutions. We must confront policy violence with direct action, and we must confront wicked legislators in the hallways of the Capitol. Tennessee is facing tough challenges, and we need bold progressive leaders, unafraid to speak truth to power, just like Dr. King did. One of my favorite quotes, and I'll leave you with this, from Dr. King is when he spoke in 1956. He said, "We need leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice. Not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. Leaders who can subject their particular egos to the pressing urgencies of the great cause of freedom." I ran for state senate because I firmly believe in the fierce urgency of now. The problems in Tennessee are too dire for us to sit around and wait our turn. I urge you to reflect on Dr. King's relevant words and recommit yourself to nonviolent direct action. Get in the fight. The movement needs you. The urgency of now is today. It is my pleasure and honor to serve you in the State Senate. Let's get to work. Thank you.
Well, good morning. There's not much to say after Senator Oliver. We praise God, though, for her spirit and her presence. Amen? To Dr. Glover, to the IMF president and members, to the MLK chair and committee, to Mayor Cooper, elected officials, to our speaker, Dr. Dyson, to all those who are gathered here in the name of justice, we greet you and thank you for your presence here. We encourage you to, as Senator Oliver said, don't let this be the last time we think about fighting against the assaults against our justice. Amen? When we think about the quality of life issues, housing, health care, education, it is my hope that we don't let this be a snapshot in time, that we don't wait until the next MLK Day to work on these issues, but that we dedicate ourselves every day to making sure that we do engage the process, that we do turn out to vote, that we do protect the dream and protect the gains that we've made while simultaneously not losing any more ground. Good morning and God bless you.
Dr. Glover and elected officials, and to everybody, good morning. It is great to be with all of you today in person again here at the Gentry Center to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King here in a city that is supporting HBCUs like never before. It is finally paying our teachers to make them the best paid teachers in the state. That is, yes, creating an inclusive economic development plan for the first time. That is quintupling the investment in affordable housing, that has a $50 million Housing First plan for homelessness, and that has established a living wage in Nashville as a standard for all the businesses in our city. Let us be inspired and directed by Dr. King, by his advocacy, his legacy, which is forever stitched into the fabric of our city's history and future. Dr. King attended rallies and spoke at conferences and universities right here in Nashville. And with each journey to our city, Dr. King showed us the pathway that we have to take in Nashville. He showed us the pathway towards change and justice day in and day out, and we have to continue to do the work, to stand strong in times of challenge and controversy, to speak out on hate and discrimination when we see it, and to not stop until justice runs down like water and righteousness a mighty stream. Now, 2020 marked the beginning of a new era in the modern civil rights movement. A renewed call to social justice to do the hard work that ensures everyone in Nashville is treated equally under the law. And I'm inspired by the courage of Nashville's convictions, by the commitment of our community to the cause of racial equity, its dedication to hold our government accountable to its highest ideals, that everyone is treated equal and deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. As Dr. King said in 1966, we have come a long, long way, but we have a long, long way to go before the problem is solved. And all these years later, we have to rededicate ourselves to completing that journey. Today, we pray for the continued road to justice, to equality, to peace, and I am honored to join you, all of us, for this year's convocation as we seek to do justly, love mercy, walk humbly, just as Dr. King did. Thank you, Dr. Glover, for hosting us here, and thank all of you in being part of our great city's future.
Now, look, you know it's something when the keynote gets up and waves you off, and when the pastors in the back start amening, you already know. Now, for those who have been at events where I host, you know, normally I make it clear we only have one keynote. But, Cindy, we're going to let you have that because we needed that. And somebody need to call Kanye out. So, amen to that. Thank you so much. So, to everybody else on program, we have one keynote because everybody ready to go in just a bit. But we have so much more for you all. Again, thank you so much to our special guests who brought greetings. Now I want to invite up Pastor Lisa Hammonds, treasurer of IMF, who will be immediately followed by the Jefferson Street Baptist Church Choir.
Good morning. The Interdenominational Ministerial Fellowships Community Fund is devoted to promoting and supporting higher education, particularly for our neighboring historically Black colleges and universities. It is part of our social presence and responsibility to be the change we wish to see. To that end, on this past Thursday, the inaugural IMF Community Fund Scholarship Gala was held. And because of you, our friends and partners in protecting the dream, confronting the assaults, is now able to present community gifts to the 4 HBCUs that call Nashville home. For more than 150 years, these 4 HBCUs have primarily served students of color from around the world and are directly responsible for recognizing, honing, and producing some of this world's great leaders in a plethora of disciplines. The IMF Community Fund is proud to present community gifts of $5,000 each to American Baptist College, Tennessee State University, Meharry Medical College, and Fisk University. In case you don't want to do the math, that's $20,000. These funds will be restricted for use to assist at-risk students who are on purge rolls and whose continued matriculation and imminent graduation is in jeopardy. Our first community gift recognizes American Baptist College. With a liberal arts emphasis, ABC's mission has been and continues to be to educate, graduate, and prepare diverse students for Christian leadership, service, and social justice in the world. For almost 100 years, this institution has created a unique educational opportunity for African American clergy to gain higher biblical and theological education for Christian service and leadership to the world. Civil rights champions, national leaders, and outstanding Christian ministers like Julia Scruggs, Bernard Lafayette, William Barbee, and John Lewis have served on the front lines of justice, especially in the Nashville student sit-in movement. Under the tutelage of J.F. Grimmett, Reverend Kelly Miller Smith, and Reverend Dr. C.T. Vivian, students altered the quality of life for Americans living in the South in pursuit of justice and human rights. The school continues to instill a passion to advance God's mission of justice, compassion, and reconciliation. Its current president, the Reverend Dr. Forrest Harris, is indeed leading and encouraging the institution to be like a flame that lasts forever. At this time, I invite a representative from American Baptist College, my colleagues, IMF President Davy Tucker and Vice President Bishop-elect Aaron Marble, to join me at this time. Is there another representative? We're going, Dr. Glover is going to, on behalf of American Baptists, receive their gift and ensure that it reaches them.
I don't know.
What
I
she
can
just
take
said?
the ABC
Well,
gift.
take the gift.
I'll
She
take the
just said
ABC.
she was going to take the gift. Take the,
This lack of trust.
take, as a faculty member.
As a graduate, faculty member, all-around supporter of American Baptist College, I accept this on behalf of Dr. Forrest Harris and the Board of Trust. Thank you.
Take the picture. Tennessee State University. One university located on two campuses, TSU's mission for more than 110 years has been and continues to be to transform lives, prepare a diverse population of leaders, and contribute to economic and community development by providing affordable and accessible educational programs at various degree levels that promote academic excellence through scholarly inquiry, teaching, research, lifelong learning, and public service. Learning every day, making excellence a habit, thinking beyond the obvious, working relentlessly, and serving everyone encountered are the core values that allow it to be designated as a high research institution by the Carnegie Classification of Institutions of Higher Learning, of Higher Education. TSU strives for excellence in programming, offerings, and community engagement whose staff, faculty, and students are living their alma mater to be the land of golden sunshine by the Cumberland's fertile shore, and are standing for a school of greater service that can be adored. Their athletic department are heralded with their Olympic heritage and 2 Grammy nominees for the Aristocrat of Bands. Its president, Dr. Glenda Baskin Glover, is indeed maintaining the motto to think, work, and serve in her leadership. At this time, I invite her, the president of TSU, to come and join me with my colleagues in this presentation. Oh, yeah. Stand. You coming to be in this? Oh, okay.
Thank you.
We have one more. Oh. Meharry Medical College. In response to an act of kindness and collaboration with Methodist clergy and laity in the Freedmen's Aid Society, Meharry Medical College has evolved into a leading global academic health sciences service center, advancing health equity through innovative research, transformative education, exceptional and compassionate health services, and policy influencing thought leadership. For almost 150 years, it has provided means and resources and advocated for the elimination of health disparities in medicine, dentistry, graduate studies, and research, empowering diverse populations of healthcare professionals to improve the well-being of humanity. Under the leadership of Dr. James Hildreth, who, by the way, significantly assists Nashville and Tennessee in navigating it through COVID-19 protocols and pandemic, Meharry Medical College continues in its worship of God through service to mankind. At this time, I invite a representative from Meharry Medical College, along with my colleagues, to join me in presenting this community gift. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Fisk University. A standard of excellence was born from a dream more than 155 years ago for an educational institution that would be open to all and would measure itself by the highest standards, not of Negro education, but of American education at its best. Fisk's curriculum is grounded in liberal arts, with its faculty and administrators emphasizing the discovery and advancement of knowledge through research in the natural and social sciences, business, and the humanities. It is committed to the success of scholars and leaders with global perspectives. It is home to the Grammy recipient Jubilee singers who are responsible for Nashville's nomenclature as Music City, home to a new gymnastics team that is the first HBCU to compete on the NCAA level, and is responsible for some of both national and international intellectual, artistic, and civic leaders in every generation since the university's beginning, including W.E.B. Du Bois, Booker T. Washington, Ida B. Wells Barnett, and James Weldon Johnson. Her sons and daughters are ever on the altar under the interim leadership of Mr. Frank Sims. At this time, I invite a representative from Fisk University, my colleagues, to join me in presenting this community gift to Fisk University.
Nobody's here.
Okay.
Nobody's here. Goes TSU.
Dr. Glover says she's going to make sure Fisk gets their check. We got it. Oh, here we go. We've got some Fiskites here to get a check. They got your checks, Andre. They got your check.
I know we got the Fisk guys.
And we are now going to hear from the Jefferson Street Baptist Church Choir.
Sing choir.
Thank you so much. And do not let it get past you that Nashville, for some time, has offered and hosted the third largest gathering of an MLK Day celebration in the country, and that's thanks to you all. But also, we could not do that without the help of our sponsors, and I want to invite them up for just about 2 very brief minute remarks. Amen. All right, from HCA Healthcare, Sherry Neal. From Amazon, Michelle Brown.
Good morning. I got that hint of 2 minutes. It's going to be less than that. It's really great to be here today. I serve as the Chief Diversity Officer for HCA Healthcare. And on behalf of our HCA colleagues, we're just grateful to be supporting this 35th annual convocation celebrating the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. I'll be honest with you, my colleague from Amazon and I were sitting next to each other, and we said, we don't really need to go up there. And it's funny, it's been about 15 years ago now that I sat in the office of Pastor Mayor Tex Thomas, and I said, we want to support the MLK Day events. He was also a family friend, and he looked at me and he reared back in his chair and he said, daughter, we'll take your money, but this is our event. He was very clear, and it has been. And we really feel like we should be in the background, but this is important for so many reasons. 2023 is important. The last 2 years have held challenges too many and too numerous to list. You are aware of them all. And I don't know about you, but I do find myself in a place, in a position where silence is not an option. You've heard a portion of the quote. I'm going to go ahead and do it very quickly. Those familiar words of Dr. King. We are now faced with the fact that tomorrow is today. And we are confronted with that fierce urgency that we just heard of now. And in this unfolding conundrum of life and history, there is such a thing as being too late. This is no time for apathy or complacency. This is a time for vigorous and positive action. So thank you, IMF, for your work and for reminding us to protect the dream and to confront the assaults. Let us leave here today more connected as a community. Together, we'll inspire meaningful change for a healthier, more equitable tomorrow. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Michelle Brown. I lead public policy for Amazon here in Nashville. Amazon is proud to be a platinum level sponsor of the 35th Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day March and Convocation. We are so thankful for the invitation to participate and support from Nashville's IMF, the MLK Nashville Committee, board members, and my awesome friend and chair, Cheryl Mays. We would like to extend a special welcome to all of our business, political, and community leaders in attendance, and today's keynote, Dr. Dyson. We are grateful for the 35 years of dedication and service from IMF to make sure that on this day, the community highlights initiatives important to Dr. King that are still prevalent today. What better way to celebrate the life and legacy of Dr. King than keeping up the drumbeat of civil rights with a week of events focused on fair housing, economic development, social justice, and equity. We recognize that we have a lot more work to do in the community, and we are grateful to partner with you on those efforts for the long haul. But right now, we are just really excited to celebrate Dr. King with all of you and look forward to our keynote. Thank you.
In just a second, we're going to hear from our keynote of today, but first, please help me in welcoming 2022 Nashville Youth Poet Laureate, Sharia Yu.
Sometimes a piece of paper sits up. It looks around. I'm picturing Flat Stanley, but powered by the strongest words written in a Birmingham jail, published in the corner of a newspaper. From pulpits and podiums, you challenged Jefferson's Declaration. Argument after argument for a new independence, your letters, the only document in my AP Gov curriculum not written by a white guy 300 years ago, at least you're included, but why? And who else? I guess paper likes to be white. But it's sitting up. We're sitting up from being flattened by the power of the words on your pages. You're not the coloring book, storybook hero, quotes set against a flower background, to a high schooler who's opening her eyes to complexity and resistance and what it means to turn dream into destination. All I can say is thank you for your work. When I see a president say, go back to where you came from, when I see shootings in Atlanta of women who look like me, I think of you. I don't see equality. And I'm not surprised, because Brown versus Board of Education, 1954, you'd think we'd desegregate by 55 while someone checked the demographics in Metro Nashville public schools. Your civil rights movement has never been over. It's not clean, it's not think tank, Dred Scott was a mistake, Brown v. Board, the finish line of the civil rights adventure. It's here and now. It's here and now. Let me reach across this work that we still have to do. Let me understand your determination and your dream. Children not only playing together, but fighting together, hearts pounding, blood burning, mouths open, shouting words at the sky because justice means life for us all. As I grow up under your proud wing, let us see this dream through together, helping each other to sit up, to stand up, and to listen to each other.
Good morning, beloved. Before making this introduction, School Board Member May said I had a few minutes to share some words with you. And I think it's going to be good practice because just this past week, House Republicans passed new rules in our chamber limiting our time from speaking from 15 minutes to 5 minutes. Another way to silence dissent. When I think about the theme, protecting the dream and confronting assaults, I was hopeful, maybe wishful, that our governor would be here today. Because the assaults have already begun this legislative session. The assaults happened when House Republicans filed their first piece of legislation, not to give people health care, not to fight for affordable housing, not to expand voting rights, but to attack drag shows, an issue I never heard on the campaign trail. Because the truth be told, the real threat to youth are not drag performers, but it is legislators who are committed to defunding our public schools. The real threat to our youth are laws that make it easier to access a gun than it is to vote. The real threat to our youth is a climate crisis that we refuse to acknowledge. The real threat to our youth are the policies passed every day in what can no longer be referred to as the people's house. I thought coming into this new role, I would be more hopeful. But being on the inside, as I know my sister Charlene has seen as well, is a very lonely place to be. Being in the legislature is a place where corporate power rules the day. It's a place where people may not refer to themselves as racist, but traffic in the politics of racism. It is a place in which we are told to conform and to go along to get along. And so as I woke up this morning, I remembered that that place is not where my hope is. My hope is in the people of this state. My hope is in the people who brought down a monument of a KKK Grand Wizard, not with policies, but through a movement just 2 years ago. My hope is in the young people who slept in the People's Plaza for 62 days as the governor refused to meet with us and instead spent $1 million to have us arrested. My hope are in those who registered people to vote, so much so that the Republicans had to pass a law to make it, to criminalize voter registration. That's where my hope is. Because if we did not have power, they would not be trying so hard to stop us. My mentor, Diane Nash, told me something, and it's kind of awkward for me to say this now as a representative, but I'm still going to share it with you. She said, Justin, if we would have waited on politicians to change things in Nashville, we would still be waiting. But it was young people who sat down at those lunch counters and said, we refuse to abide by segregation. It was young people who, when leaders in civil rights groups said, you're asking for too much, too soon, said that we have a vision of a new America. It was young people who spent days in jail cells and nights of bomb threats. And so my message is not to the adults in this room, it's to the young people. That when you step up, people say, we love young people. We want you to join our organization. We want you in our program. And they'll say that until you speak. But speak anyways. To the young people, they'll say, we want you to conform me, we want to co-opt you, but say, it's okay because I have a hope for a new vision. To these babies here, to the children marching against gun violence and climate catastrophe, your vision is worth fighting for. Do not let anybody in this room, because there are those in this room who will try and do it, who will tell you that you don't have the correct title. Baby, titles are good, but purpose is better. And so whatever we can do in the people's house to open the doors to the people's house, I promise you that we will do it. Because we're not focused on the next election. This may be my only term serving, but we're focused on the next generation. And we will do the work with a title or without a title. And too many people here have forgotten that. We don't want the donations from these corporate PAC donors. We want the people's support. And so all those lobbyists who came to our office this week, I said I'm going to meet with my constituents first. So shout out to the people of District 52, because that's who we serve. And so now I'm going to do my assignment and read this introduction. But I think we must uplift new young voices. So I hope you young people will see that it's your time now. Do not wait for permission. Do not wait for someone to give you sanction. Do not wait for gatekeepers, because they will never move, but it's your time now. The young people here, it is your time now, and I hope to see you in the people's house. Okay. And so, as the Republicans do, my time is up. I'm just kidding. And so I will see the remainder of the time to the honorable, distinguished, highly respected professor, writer, preacher, lecturer, and media personality, Dr. Eric Michael Dyson. You can read his program on this paper.
Thank you all so kindly. To Sister Mays, to President Glover, to Ms. Vaughn Wallace, and to all the other distinguished guests, ministers, politicians, and fellow keynote speakers. Y'all ain't right.
You told me you was gonna give me a red Corvette, but you ain't told me everybody was gonna drive it before you gave it to me. You done came over my crib and sat on the couch where the plastic ain't covering it. You done got all these people dealing with the topic that you had asked me to address. You missed some people. There are 2 roaches and a rat who didn't speak. Let's invite them to give ratological insight. I mean, if I had a state senator like that, if I had a president of an institution like Reverend Dr. Professor Glover, if I had a leader like Brother Jacob Aparicio, I mean, Reverend Dr. Kelly X, y'all just stacked the decks. All these preachers, Sister Brown, Sister Neal, I mean, y'all clearly don't know nothing about liturgical order. And I do want to say, I'm deeply honored, especially to be at TSU with the Reverend Dr. Glenda Glover. Oh, you can do better than that. Now, we applaud her for the extraordinary work she's been doing, and we appreciate her. And I saw a clip of her testifying, and the politicians trying to do the okey doke. And I was like, man, how in the world can you blame the victim? They mad she done brought students into the school. Now, if it had been opposite, where she ain't brought nobody up in here, then y'all be mad. Now she got too many folk up in here. Well, since she done brought them up in here, give her the money so that they can do what they need to do. I mean, how you gonna be mad at her success? We know she chocolate charming. We know she's ebony ecstasy unfurled in coffee flesh. We know she brilliant and bold and beautiful, but give her the cash she needs to protect these students and to serve them. And for the Negroes who will stand against her, folk, then y'all need to see what she's doing. Reverend Dr. Glover, stand on your feet and let these folk give you the love that you deserve. Now, since I got 5 minutes left, I mean, y'all could have brought some of my friends up in here too. I came with a bad crew. Dr. James Peterson, one of the most brilliant scholars on hip hop and American literature, is up in here with me. Dr. Gilman Whiting, one of the great and foremost educational theorists, is up in here. Doctors Juan and Stacy Floyd Thomas, the first family of black academia, with their brilliant insight up in here. And she preached yesterday at Riverside in New York. You could have had her come back up in here when she had the memorable phrase about the menacing molehills of microaggressions. Black women just be bad, as y'all saw here today with Senator Charlene Oliver. Her husband protects us every day on campus. I texted him and said, I thought you loved me, man. But your wife done a crime to me. I need her to be arrested on the spot. So I brought some bad people with me. Sister Rosalind Carpenter, Vice President, HR, brilliant woman in the medical field. I brought Tiffany Carroll, who drives us. She could have drove you crazy. Tristan Buckner, he faded me up this morning because I was going to give a keynote speech and y'all was going to listen to me. So since everybody done insulted my speech and assaulted the assault, and it was brilliant, by the way, I loved every minute of it. I'm going to switch it up a little bit, and I'm going to talk about stay woke. And these great and brilliant preachers behind me, Reverend Dr. Love, the political figures, the ministers, the extraordinary figures, the pillars of our community. 1952, white minister, Methodist, professor of homiletics at Yale University, Halford Edward Luckock. He had a sermon in a book, Marching Off the Map, entitled Sleeping Through a Revolution. 1968, about 16 or so years later, a preacher got up to give his last Sunday sermon. It was entitled Remaining Awake Through a Great Revolution at the National Cathedral in Washington, D.C. He was inspired by Reverend Luckock's sermon. They both noted that the story of Rip Van Winkle was deeply inspiring. And y'all remember that Washington Irving story? Rip Van Winkle went to sleep for 20 years, but both Reverend Luckock and the preacher on Sunday morning, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., noted that when Rip Van Winkle went to sleep, one of the King Georges was on the throne. And when he woke up, George Washington was the president. And so sleeping during a revolution was transposed by Dr. King to saying, staying awake through a great revolution. And my brothers and sisters, given the brilliance of what you've already heard, I've come here to echo and reinforce what you've already heard. Martin Luther King Jr. was a dreamer, but he dreamed out loud and he dreamed awake. A lot of people try to freeze Dr. King in 1963 at the sunlit summit of expectation when he mounted the rostrum there in Washington, D.C. on August 28th. The night before he spoke, the word arrived that the great William Edward Burghardt Du Bois, who went through Fisk University, the greatest black intellectual in the history of America, had given up the ghost and died. And they chose that day because it was also the anniversary of the murder of Emmett Till. And so on that day, this black man, 34 years old, uttered 34 words that have become immortal in the annals of American memory. I have a dream. One day, my 4 little children will live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And ever since then, people done messed that speech up. First of all, he said it was a dream. It wasn't no reality. And so when folk remind us, my God, you're speaking about race again, and that's not what Dr. King wanted, you ain't heard the speech, homie. He said, I have a dream that one day, but that day ain't arrived yet. And he said some more stuff beside the dream stuff in the dream. 50 years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed, he stretched the word out like he was Sam Cooke with that melismatic authority. You heard a bit of it tonight, this afternoon with that young man. He shocked the living daylights out of you with that soprano voice. That wasn't falsetto now. Falsetto was drifting on a memory. Ain't no place I'd rather be than with you. That's falsetto. He's singing soprano in his natural register. And so King stretched that word out like a melismatic authoritarian that he was within the rhetorical occupation of black homiletical intensity in the midst of a white supremacist ethic that denied the legitimacy of black humanity. He showed them the rhetorical power of the Negro preacher. And so he said, we've gathered today in the shadow of Abraham Lincoln. He said, but we have come to the nation's capital to get a check cashed. Like Rihanna, he said, nation better have my money. He said, I refuse to believe that the great vaults of democracy are empty. And so, my brothers and sisters, he said, we are marooned on a tiny island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. He talked about poverty. He talked about police brutality. He talked about black supremacy versus white supremacy. He talked about the marvelous new militancy that had arisen in America. And then Mahalia Jackson on the side of the rostrum, as he was reading his speech, said, tell him about the dream, Martin. Black women, even when they ain't on stage, they still in control. And so he put his paper down. He said, despite the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. But that ain't the only speech he gave. He said, a few months later, my dream turned into a nightmare when I saw 4 little girls bombed in Birmingham. Y'all acting like that's the only speech he gave. Y'all acting like Luther ain't had but one song. And no matter what Luther song you like, there's another one somebody else like. You might like having a party. You might like, don't you remember? I told you I loved you, baby. Y'all too young, y'all don't know nothing about that. Somebody else like the remake of The Sun is Shining, It's Plenty of. He had more than one song. King had more than one speech. As great as that speech was, don't freeze him on August 28th, 1963. He said, my dream turned into a nightmare. He said, what I had expected of America is not what America has done. And so while you're talking about King's dream, I need you to stay woke. And you know, we got a bunch of politicians now mad at wokeness. First of all, they don't even know what it is. And I ain't never seen people celebrate going to sleep so often. When you on guard as a police person or in the military, you got to stay woke. When you on the court playing ball, you got to wake up and be alert. Why is it that all of a sudden when black folk get woke, you want to go to sleep? Well, my brothers and sisters, let me tell you, these people are mad at CRT. They don't know the difference between CRT and OPP. You ask them what you're mad at, it's CRT. What does it stand for? I don't know. Critical race theory. And then you ask them, what is critical race theory? I don't know, but I don't like it. We've hoodwinked so many white brothers and sisters into believing that CRT is against them. First of all, it ain't. Secondly, they ain't teaching CRT in school unless you go to law school, unless you go to college, unless you come to TSU or Vanderbilt. The point is that CRT is a legal theory generated by Derek Bell, generated by Kimberly Crenshaw, Marie Matsuda, Charles Lawrence, Gary Peller. It is a philosophical argument about the nature of white supremacy in an American culture that has refused to acknowledge the fundamental humanity of black people. What the hell you mad at about that? Now you got governors in Florida, governors in Texas. And let me tell you, they signed an anti-woke bill in Florida because they didn't want young white kids to be made uncomfortable. I teach white kids at the well-known, historically black college, Vanderbilt University. Because wherever I is, that's a black school. It can be 90% white, but I'm a Negro through and through. That's a HBCU classroom. HBICU. And those white kids ain't mad at critical race theory. They mad at white folk who hid it from them. They mad that they just not learning about it. They mad that white supremacy is not on the agenda of the American university or in school. That's what they mad at. They mad at you. We ain't teaching critical race theory in the 4th grade. But as you've already heard, they're trying to ban books of Toni Morrison with the bluest eye, Song of Solomon, Sula. They're banning books about Martin Luther King Jr. But I like right here in Nashville, a conservative white judge, when a parents group came to him wanting to outlaw a book that spoke about segregation in America, he said, that ain't critical race theory, that's history. Because some folk don't want you to remember. They live in what Gore Vidal called the United States of amnesia. And I'll tell you who supplied the theme song for the United States of Amnesia, Barbara Streisand. Y'all don't know her, that ain't Taylor Swift. That's old school. Y'all remember Barbara? When she sang Memories, like the corners of my mind? Miss Gladys Knight tore that up too in a remix. Memories like the corners of my. Y'all don't remember that. But in that song, it says, what's too painful to remember, we simply choose to forget. They don't want to remember that there were white water fountains and black water fountains. They don't want you to remember that their parents went to picnics while black bodies swung in the air because they were lynched. They don't want you to know that black women were raped. Wasn't no Me Too movement on the slave plantation. They don't want you to know that black men were castrated. Stay woke. Then they're trying to make King a toothless tiger. Trying to make King a mascot for their moral ambiguity. Trying to make King a poster boy for all the stuff they want to stand against. Well, Dr. King was affirmative action. Read him, homie. 1963. Why We Can't Wait. In that book, King said if America has done something special against the Negro for 250 years, America must now do something special for the Negro. That's affirmative action and reparations. We want to repair the breach with everybody but Negroes. We want to give reparations to everybody. The only folk who got reparations for enslavement were the people who enslaved us. The slave masters got paid because they lost the bounty of black bodies when slavery was brought to an end. And so if you're going to celebrate Martin Luther King Jr., I'm almost done. Stay woke. Listen to the last speech he gave. April 3rd, 1968, in Memphis, Tennessee. And if some of you were disturbed by Brother Jacob wearing the outfit he wore today, that's who King died for. Folk who were in denim, garbage workers, sanitation strikers. He wasn't dying for bourgeois Negroes, as Senator Oliver talked about, who got their own variety of Aframnesia, who more worried about what sorority or fraternity they in. I ain't mad if you divine 9, just don't forget the divine rest of us. If you are Delta or an Alpha, I'm not mad because I love the sororities and fraternities, but your first obligation is to be on the front line serving the people. That's why I love Dr. Glover. Serve the people. We ain't worried about how much money you got in the bank. We ain't worried about what big church you go to, although you ought to go to them. We ain't worried about how much capital you're able to amass. Martin Luther King Jr. made $230,000 in 1962. That's a lot of cheddar. Now, imagine what it was then. And he gave every dime except $6,000 he kept to pay his taxes to the movement. His book money, he gave every dime to the movement from his royalties. Morehouse wouldn't put him on the board of trustees until 3 years before he died. Why? Because the white head of the board of trustees, Mr. Merrill and Lynch, blocked King from being on the board of trustees from the school he made famous. Why? He said King was a poor role model. Why is that? He said he went to jail too often. He wasn't selling crack. He wasn't young. Oh, you Negroes out here talking about don't snitch. Don't do the crime for which you got to snitch. I'm tired of these guns in the hands of unprincipled police and in the hands of black people who are murdering each other with reckless abandon. I'm tired of all of it. And so Dr. King died for poor people. Dr. King stood up for those who didn't have a voice for themselves. And in that last speech, he said, America, all I ask, be true to what you said on paper. If you said it, do it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. Well, they meant men, they didn't mean women, but women took it for themselves. We know that the framers of the Constitution and the writers of the Declaration of Independence were valiant and brilliant men, but also flawed and failed in their moral aptitude for racial reconsideration. Thomas Jefferson was a great man. He wrote the Declaration of Independence. He was the architect of Monticello. He was the Secretary of State. Mary J. Blige might say, Secretary of State. And then the president. But he owned other human beings and didn't even let them go until it was time for him to leave up out of this earth. But at the same time that he was questioning Negro rationality in his book, Notes on Virginia, if you read it, he even asked if Negroes had harmony. Did he not listen to the Supremes? Or Destiny's Child? He questioned whether black folk had rational capacity, but at night, he put on some Luther Vandross. Creep, creep into my dreams. He put on some Wilson Pickett, Mustang Sally. And he engaged in sexual relationships with a 14-year-old girl. Didn't start with R. Kelly. And we should hold them both to account. 14 years old, many white brothers and sisters were amazed. Stay woke! Thomas wasn't the only one. Most white men had unlimited access to the sexual property of black women. How you think I got yellow? But I've been doing my best to bring yellow back, baby. Denzel, Wesley Snipes, make room for Steph Curry and Drake. We trying to do something good up in here, boy. But this time we not going to do what white folk we got mad at for doing, having light privilege. Didn't want to question why we were light, bright, and almost white. And while those who were dark as bark stay back in the park were mistreated. My daddy was blue-black from Georgia, Albany, Georgia. And I saw how black people treated him. I saw as a child the disdain and disgust they had for him and thought I was smart because I was yellow and curly-haired. And I'm telling you, I ain't mad if you yellow, be yellow. If you dark, be dark, but don't expect that there will be advantages that accrue to you because you fulfill a noxious European ideal for beauty. That's what it is to be black. You ain't got to step outside. Stay within the boundary. We got everything you like. Light, bright, almost white, dark as the park. We got ebony ecstasy. We got vanilla vitality. We got chocolate charm. We got caramel cuteness. Everything you want. The finest people on this earth. As I close, King said, America, be true to what you said on paper. America been lying. We had a president that lied to us every day. He stood up when he was on social media to excrete the feces of his moral depravity into a nation he turned into his psychic commode. He lied to us, and white evangelicals ate him up. They didn't like the man who was in office before him. His biggest sin was he wore a tan suit. And every time he came down Air Force One, they mad because he had swag. It was like 50 Cent was playing in the background. I don't know what you heard about me, but the right can't get a dollar out of me because I'm a PIMP. A president imbued with moral principles. Huh? Don't you miss that? Don't you miss a Negro in office who read books that he didn't write? This man that came after him had 5 words, maybe 20. Bad. Sad. See Dick run. Then he tried to blame hip-hop for saying he gonna reach out and grab something. If you're a real man, you ain't got to grab it. With the integrity of your personality and the dignity of your respect for the woman summons it with your powerful ambition. Man, if I had more time. Even Biggie asked for permission. Some say the X makes the sex spectacular. Make me look you from your neck to your back, then damn, you look fine. That ass is back. If it's all right with you, that's consent seeking. My brothers and sisters, King was a man of integrity, but this man that we had in America, that so many white evangelicals who claim to love Jesus supported a man who read a Bible upside down. This orange apparition beclouded the horizon of American politics. The man that came before him wasn't perfect, but he had integrity. He had ideas, and he could talk, and he could read. I just wish sometimes he would have came out of the White House in a terry cloth robe with some Magic Johnson socks on and a skull cap and a grill on his teeth and said, "What? Yeah, I'm living in public housing. But if we tell the truth, he didn't do everything he could have done when he was there. If this is King Day, tell the truth. He had 3 bites at the apple. No black woman came forth to sit on the Supreme Court. Oh, I know you got your excuses, like white folk got their excuses for Trump. But don't make too many excuses that you don't hold people accountable. He's one of the best presidents ever, but he could have done more to help the very Negroes who put him in the office too. And as I end, I tell you this, stay woke. Don't go to sleep. Stay alert to what God is doing in your own time. Our young people who are here, stay woke. Our middle-aged people who are here, stay woke. Our elderly folk who are here, stay woke. Because God is still moving. The throne of justice is still real. The possibility of transformation is here if you will stay woke. Peace.
Can we thank Dr. Dyson just one more time for the challenge of asking us to stay woke. On behalf of the IMF, the Interdenominational Ministers Fellowship, the oldest socially justice conscious ministerial alliance in our city, we are grateful to all of the committees, Cheryl Mays, who drove this train all the way, to all of her crew and everyone that made this day what it is. This is a year in the making. We will actually start meetings again in the next couple of weeks to begin planning for next year. We are grateful for all of you.
I just want to give a shout out to Ms. Mays again. She worked so tirelessly. Let's stand on our feet and give her some love. She did a heck of a job. Thank you, sir.
Yes, as we begin work again for next year, we hope it will be better, and we ask you to join us. But I also think that even as our theme, as we leave here, the question has to be, what are you going to do tomorrow? With all you've heard and all this MLK, what are you going to do tomorrow? I would suggest that we learn how to burn the candle on both ends. First of all, if we're going to protect the legacy of King, it belongs to the black church. He was a black preacher. That's where he came from. And it is our duty to say who King is and what King should be to the world. But our greatest challenge, I believe, is going to be our complacency with some of us who have made it. So I want to just leave you with everything legal ain't right. That just because it's legal, it requires us to continue to challenge it. But it requires a challenge. And there are consequences to challenges. If you listen to what Dr. Dyson was talking about, nothing will change if nobody shows up. Too many of us have been bought out. Too many of us are bought into this idea of political respectability. But as a black preacher of a church, it's not red, it's not blue, it's not left, it's not right. It is what is right. We have a moral, the statement that the existence of the black church is a statement of resistance. And I'm grateful that IMF continues in almost 70 years to protect this, sometimes in lockstep, but other times by ourselves. And so as we leave you, we ask that peace would go with you, but what are you going to do tomorrow? God bless you. Peace. Hold on one second, our Vice President will.
Yeah. And I want to acknowledge Mayor Cooper, a tremendous ally and advocate for our good. I just want to shout that brother out there as well. Thank you.
Let us stand and pray. If we can hold the doors that we might receive the benediction together. And let's look to the Lord to bless our exit. One cold night in January of 1958, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. received a threatening phone call from a white racist that threatened his life, the life of his family, and the safety of his home. He prayed this prayer, and this is what I want to leave with us today. Lord, I am here taking a stand for what I believe is right, but now I am afraid. The people are looking to me for leadership, and if I stand before them without strength and courage, they too will falter. I am at the end of my powers. I have nothing left. I've come to the point where I cannot face it alone. God, we're grateful that you promised never to leave us and never to forsake us. May the goodness of God, the grace of Jesus Christ, and the gifts of the Holy Spirit continue to empower and endow us until you return. It's in your Son's name we pray. We all said, amen.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.